Yes, guys, welcome to FPL Insight. This is Chasing Green Arrows. I'm the FPL guy, Gianni Buttice, and I'm joined by a bit of a football insider in Dean Jones. Dean, how you doing?
I'm okay, yeah, a football insider that made some big errors again at the weekend. But there we go, it's all part and parcel, right? And to tell you what, mate, one of the things we talked about when we were starting this show, you said, like, what was my approach to FPL and stuff and what kind of player was I? And one of the things I said to you was, like, I was good until I had kids. And you know what? It was reflected this weekend because we had a conversation on here whereby I would swap my goalkeepers and I would put Ben Foster into the lineup and David De Gea would go onto the bench. We came away from this. One of my kids is ill right now. Well, started that second, actually, as that ended. He's crying. I go in there, totally forget that I was supposed to be doing that until the deadline has passed. And that's that. I'm on a loser already. So people who are preparing to have kids at any point also prepare for the fact that your FPL life gets worse.
I'm so going to have to be ready for that. And yeah, I remember that conversation well with Foster and De Gea. I just assumed you'd gone with Foster, but mate, yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It was like midday on Saturday and I was suddenly dawned on me and like, I mean, my heart shouldn't really sink over something so minor in life, but it did.
Oh, mate, I've been there. Don't you worry. The amount of sleep I lose from FPL is quite ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, what a game week so far. Like goals galore this weekend, and there's still loads of games to go. Actually, should we have a quick look at some of the fixtures to go? I mean, still 8 teams to play, Dean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, the way that results have gone this week so far. Who knows what we've got in store? I mean, you'd look at it straight away, be like, well, Spurs will win at Burnley. Will they? Burnley now on the back of a 3-0 win. Spurs, yeah, they've picked up a great win too. Liverpool should, like that game in hand that they've got in the locker. Here it is. Let's see if they can get those points on the board. You would expect them to, but who knows, right? Like Man City lost at the weekend. I was not expecting that, and they have. Man United go and score 4 goals away from home. Wasn't totally expecting that. Liverpool had to come from behind to win their game at the weekend. Like, look, this is what makes it so exciting. This is why it's the best game in the world. And these 4 games, I'm sure we can all look at them now, make a pretty quick judgment that we think we know how it's going to end. They won't. Those games will not end how you think they're going to end.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm looking at them going, there's so many FPL assets in these games because we've all stacked up on the double game weekers. Like, I'm looking at Weghorst and Kane, and for many, Dennis, and obviously the triple captaincy on Salah, and some have got Rafinha, the Arsenal lads, and you know, I've been bought in Kilman. So yeah, loads of interest. Wednesday night's going to be a big one. And then, yeah, wait until the Thursday, till the game week is over. And then a quick turnaround on Friday ahead of deadline.
Yeah, really quick turnaround for everybody as well. And, you know, a few people I'm sure will get caught out by it, but nobody watches this show, of course.
Yeah, if you're watching this show, we'll class you as, I don't know, an FPL enthusiast, so you never miss deadlines. But I've got mates that are well-known FPL managers that it's even happened to them. So yeah, do always set your alarm for the deadlines.
Absolutely.
So make sure you give this a like, guys. Like, if you're not already subscribing to the channel, I hope you are, like, or you'd think about it, because we're going to do these shows every Monday till the season ends. 7 p.m. every Monday, 7 p.m. UK time. And then, of course, every Friday at 7 p.m. as well. So we're doing a review and a preview Mondays and Fridays at 7. But first up, as our feature this week, we're going to check out our teams. Oh, the juicy bit of the show. Yes,
there it is, mate.
Oh, I've been waiting for this moment. 80
in all
points.
Its glory. In all its glory. Game week not even finished, and he's got 80 on the board.
I was so worried about not triple captaining Salah as well. Yeah. We spoke about it on Friday. I was pretty committed to the triple captain. And then I looked at some of the doubles that were coming up and thought, I'm going to take a hit this week for a Wolves player. And if I do that is another double game week on my bench. So it was 3 double game weeks instead of 4 on my bench. And I just thought this is too good an opportunity not to go for the bench boost.
Yeah, you've done it, and so far you've got, I guess, more points than you would have if you had triple captain Salah. Like, who knows if that will end up? But even if it doesn't quite end up like that, you're not going to be far off, are you? So you've lost nothing. You already know that. So it's a great team that you've got, and a great week so far. And I mean, look, Alexander-Arnold, nobody saw that coming. I know we did have the discussion on here, but we couldn't see Gomez playing because there had been no signs of it. Klopp has caught us all out, and we talked in our first show about the fear of Liverpool becoming a more rotated setup than Man City. It's happening already, and it is going to happen every week now. And I'm a little bit worried. I don't think Trent is actually one to worry about going forward. I think that's done now. I don't think that's going to be too often. It was a good opportunity for him to do that, clearly. But yeah, there's a few people worried. What was your big miss here, mate? Anything that you regretted?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I could have called that, as you say, like the Trent benching. I was disappointed I didn't get a return from my City players. Like, I went into it this week thinking City at home to Spurs, City players going to get some points. And 20 minutes in, Cancelo had 3 shots on goal, right? And one of them he should have put away. And he just looked like he was going to absolutely go to town on that Spurs defense. And we're talking about left back here, but he's not. He's a City attacker, and Foden obviously was quite quiet as well. So those two didn't produce. And then Bowen hit the bar in the first 20. That was the other one that really hurt. Yeah,
totally. I mean, Cancelo, like you say, one of his worst games I've seen him have, to be honest. Like, overall, it was a good start, but it just faded, and Foden not as active as you would normally expect in that front line. So it was a weird one for you, but as you know, looking ahead into the game week, you had no concerns over those. Weghorst delivers for you. And I mean, this could be one, mate. You've got this up your sleeve now. He could be in there for the duration. Burnley, so many games left. And if they're going to score, it's going to be him.
Yeah, I hope so. FPL Rivers just said Weghorst very impressive. Glad I got him in, and I'm glad those YouTube clips, because I don't watch the Bundesliga, paid off. But he looks like a real player, and we'll be speaking about him a little bit later. Luke's in the chat. Hello, mate. Desire is with us. Glad to see so many of you with us. FPL Rivers says Kane was immense, and he really was. He looks like he's turned the corner now, don't you think?
He does, yeah. I mean, I took him out of my team a couple of weeks ago because I'd lost faith, and I was looking ahead to this fixture, thinking, nah, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. He's been playing fine. It just hasn't had that output that I needed, and I've had to change my team around since then. And I guess we should probably check mine out now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kane gone, but Calvert-Lewin survives. I mean, it's a bit of a mess at the moment. I need a proper spring clean on this lot, don't I? It's a bit too early to be doing that, but a few disappointments then there. I mean, obviously Trent not playing was one. Obviously, my child being ill and making me forget about De Gea was another. Wolves conceding was a bit disappointing, to be honest. I actually genuinely didn't think they were going to. Martinelli, I talked about in the last show, Jota's injury. It was too late. I've made my transfers. So Martinelli, I'm hoping now delivers and makes up for lost time. Salah, I'm still confident. I said in the last show too, I expected 3 goals and an assist from this. Like that, I was just too scared to not get on the triple captain in case he exceeded my expectations. He's not scoring a lot of goals. The goals he is scoring, actually, he's not completely convincing, that typical Salah style of kicking, which is very unorthodox, I've got to say. Jarrod Bowen, he's staying in my team. He's going to score, but it's okay. It's going okay. I've still got time to get a few more points on the board, and I will just about end up with a green arrow for this week, I think.
Yeah, I think you're still in pretty good shape. The big thing, Dean, we both had to get Salah into our teams.
Yeah.
We didn't want to do it, but we both had to sell premium assets. Now, I sold Bruno, not ideal. You sold Harry Kane to get Salah in. So it's so disappointing because you knew that was the right move. You had to get Salah, but Kane was the only make weight, really, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. And as I say, that was the point I was at. And I was just looking ahead at his fixtures. And I just didn't have that belief. Like, Salah always scores, even if it's only one. Like, I still back that Salah is going to score, and Kane, I just got beyond that point. So, look, the other disappointment for me is Brozier. Every other Southampton forward is scoring at the moment. He's not. Like, what's happening, mate? Come on.
We have been giving it the big one as well. Me, like every time I'm going to be doing my eye test reports on these Monday streams, which are coming up very soon. You can always guarantee there will be either a Chelsea loanee or a former Chelsea player in there. And this week I've got another one that's not Brozier, by the way.
Okay.
So yeah, let's check out you guys in the chat. Luke says, Dean, you're happy with Dina? He's not convinced by Aston Villa currently, Dean, and neither am I. We've both had Dina for a few weeks, and he's just blanking every time.
He is, but the problem I've got, Luke, is that I've got much bigger concerns in that squad than Luca Dean. I mean, there's at least three players in my squad right now that need to be gone. And Mohammed, I'll tell you what, he's not wrong. I need a wild card every week at the moment. I keep getting caught out. I keep messing up my transfers. It's all gone wrong since COVID, and I'll get a bounce back. I know I'll get this back on track, but it's got to be very carefully planned out now. Like as you know, I don't plan out like you. I don't have the spreadsheet, but for the last couple of days, I have been looking at that fixture schedule and just seeing where I can make up some points here and my mates that maybe haven't looked that far ahead. And it's not great because obviously Chelsea keep having blanks, and I've got Rudiger and Mount in there.
Yeah, exactly that. And Michael's saying, is Foden a doubt for the next game week? Michael, the good news is for Foden is there's no Champions League for City this week, so he has no midweek schedule, which is quite rare for Man City at this time in the season. So what do you reckon, Dean? We'll be talking more about Pep Roulette on Friday's show at 7 p.m. But Foden should be good for the weekend. I think he plays Everton, and we know they're fairly leaky.
Yeah, exactly. They've got Everton. I mean, the game after that's the big one, the Manchester derby. Foden, apart from, unless there's stuff that's happening off the field right now, unless there's some backlash from that, I don't see it at the moment. Man City completely supporting him, which was good to see from an FPL asset point of view. Like when I first saw that, I was like, oh no, like what's happening here? He's going to be out. Is he going to be in Pep's bad books? But he's not by the look of things, and I think he'll probably give him the chance to get straight back in there.
Good stuff. Okay, enough of our teams. Let's move on to our first big feature of the night. We're going to have a look at Dean's notebook. Looking a bit younger there, Dean. I'm loving that sort of Adidas retro vibe.
Yeah, do you know what? That picture, I remember that picture being taken. It was during lockdown, so I probably looked a lot younger. Yeah, in like the April of lockdown 2 years ago, because lots happened to us all since then, haven't we? I only had one child then as well, so that definitely made me feel a lot younger. But yeah, so for the notebook this week, I picked out a few players with background storylines to consider and reasons to consider him for future game weeks. And I want to kick off with Ismaila Sarr of Watford, because as soon as Roy Hodgson came into this side, I was like, okay, we need to see how he gets Sarr in there, how long it takes, and the impact that he can have, because he's going to be so important. Now, at the weekend, he made his first start since November, his first start under Roy Hodgson. So, yeah, I always felt he would determine Watford's chances of staying up. And he got the assist against Aston Villa. And then on the back of it, I made a call today, and I wanted to check out what the insiders at Watford believe about this player, what they see in him, particularly the new guys that have come in on the coaching staff. And I personally think that he could be Roy Hodgson's new Wilfried Zaha. And Hodgson always saw him as like the guy that was ultimately going to decide their matches. I said, is that the case? And look, they don't see him as being as good as Zaha. They don't think he's got as much to his game. But what they do see is that he's very quick. And what they do really like is how direct he is. Is he much more than that? Not really, but that doesn't matter because it can be very, very effective. And what they say is that we're going to be a counter-attacking team, right? And the top three have got pace to burn. And that is something that I think we're all going to have to consider going forward. If you're looking for a differential, if you're looking for a player with interesting game weeks, like he's 5.7 million. The next games are Palace, Man United, Arsenal and Wolves. Those are games ultimately where at least three of them, they're going to be counter-attacking. They're going to get chances, and it's going to be coming down to Ismaila Sarr to set them on their way. So, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. That's the style of play. We know that Roy Hodgson was going to have to play really at Watford. He was always going to defend and look for that clean sheet. But now that Ismaila Sarr's back in there, it gives them that burst of pace that they were probably lacking.
Yeah, they got the double game week in 28 as well. Watford, and remember, he's listed as a midfielder, not a forward, at 5.7. I like that. I like that call a lot. I noticed Josh King was dropping really deep, and it was kind of just feeding balls to the two flyers, Dennis one side, Sarr the other, which I think works. That's a dynamic front three.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Dennis, he's in so many people's teams now anyway. I think his numbers will probably get better too. So Watford will score a few goals, and ultimately I think they'll surprise us too by picking up a couple of wins that are unexpected from here towards the run-in. I'm not sure if they'll survive, but they will pick up unexpected wins and points. So the second player I want to talk about, again, another unexpected, I guess, outing at the weekend was Jesse Lingard. Yeah. Look, made his first league start of the season, his first start since I can't even remember, like almost 2 years. It's been a long time since he started a game for Man United. But look, at a time when United have no Greenwood, no Martial, when Cavani's out, European football is back on the schedule. Maybe we should expect Jesse Lingard to actually start getting more game time here and like start to get an understanding of how he fits in. The thing to consider in the background here is Jesse Lingard's future and the fact that he's playing for either a move or to stay at Man United. Ideally, Jesse Lingard wants to stay at Man United. He knows that Rangnick's not going to be the manager next season. He knows someone else is going to come in. And there's a very good chance that next manager will see enough in Jesse Lingard that he wants him to stay. He's got to prove it, though. He's got to put in some big performances if he's to get that new contract. So, look, I think he's one for the watch list, United got some interesting games coming up. They've got the European fixtures. They've got to go and win games. By the time we get to April, when United have got some games that I think are very winnable in Leicester, Everton and Norwich, he might be actually established in that United team. You never know. And by that point too, he might be in some people's teams.
Yeah, it looks like seeing him start the weekend, I thought, hang on a sec, is he jumping above Elanga in the pecking order here? Maybe so. Obviously, Elanga took his goal well, but also missed a sitter. And if J-Lings is above Elanga in the pecking order, then he's probably going to be often sort of first sub because Elanga's and possibly even getting a starting space because Rashford's not exactly lighting things up at the moment. So it's up for grabs.
No, that's it. And Lingard has got a lot of experience and he is a good player. He's obviously not like lit up Rangnick. He hasn't been ultimately too impressed by him. And Elanga is the player that Rangnick is clearly bringing through and putting a lot of hope in.
Yeah.
But there will be times when he's not brave enough to pick Elanga. And it might be, you're right, that Lingard just gets the nod ahead of him.
Yeah, I love that. As we get to the kind of real business end of the season, those must-win games for that experience for the teams around the relegation spots or the teams on the edge of the top four. Sometimes experience just is the extra factor in the manager's sort of decision making. But Dean, tell me about your next player because I know this is one I'll get very excited about. One of my favourite footballers for the team I support, Chelsea.
Oh, yeah, of course. I didn't even think of that, mate. Well, yeah, absolutely. Reece James is on the comeback trail, and we all need to have this at the back of our minds. Yeah. Now, look, Chelsea do have a blank coming up, but that's a good thing because that means you can just monitor Reece James over the next week. They got a Champions League game, which I don't think he's going to play in, but then there's the Carabao Cup final at the weekend, which I'm told he could be in mind for, even if on the bench. And then it could be that he comes back into this team. They are not going to hold back in getting Reece James back into the team at Chelsea. We all know he's their number one wing back. And we don't know how much they miss playing that system. They miss the outlet that they had of Reece James down there. So let's see how he fares over the next 10 days, because then Chelsea have a run of games against Burnley, Newcastle, Norwich and Brentford. He's going straight back into this team as soon as he is fully fit and ready. Look, mate, what a run of games that is for him to build confidence, get some clean sheets and a couple of assists. Like, I'd be surprised if I'm not trying to get him in.
Yeah, I'm already looking at how and when I will need to get him in. And bearing in mind, at the moment, he's got a fixture in game week 28, which I think there's a very good chance he can make, especially if he's in the squad for the EFL Cup final. And there's a good chance that we could see another double game week going into there. So game week 28 has currently got Burnley away. Don't be surprised if that Arsenal fixture is dropped in there. There's a lot of talk in the community that could go ahead on the 5th of March. So very excited about that.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely one to have at the back of our minds over the next week or so. And if he is on the bench for that Carabao Cup game, we've all got a big decision to make the week after.
Yeah, exactly that. Desire is saying he's Sancho is on his watch list instead of J-Lings, and another one to monitor.
Yeah.
FPL Rivers saying Reece straight back in his team as soon as fit. Chelsea even had to play a back four at the weekend because they're just the wing backs aren't there in that system.
Yep.
Reece might play in the final or after, says Mohammed. Love that. Luke saying a lot of United fans very frustrated with Lingard when he plays. Is he wasteful? Possibly, but we saw what he did at West Ham, didn't we? And he shows if he gets a run of games, his confidence gets up, and he's actually very composed in front of goal.
Yeah, he's very effective if you find the right role for him, and that's what Rangnick's got to do. Like, it's been a big problem of United finding the right system, the right way to play around Ronaldo if he has to be there at the focal point of the side. But it can be done. It can be done. And we're already seeing that in Jadon Sancho. He's had a completely new lease of life under Rangnick. And the same can happen for Lingard if the two manage to find a way to let that happen.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, guys, do give us a like if you can. If you're watching live, do like and subscribe to the channel. I do tell you one thing you are going to like, and that is, and I'll give you a clue. In the chat, we've had a bit of Michael Sweden says, will James affect Ziyech's starting spot? Well, coming up next is my eye test report. And Michael, you've absolutely called it. Ziyech is going to be first up in my eye test. And the change in system has been something that's really affected Ziyech positively. Like when Chelsea play with a back four, Ziyech can play slightly wider. And when he's slightly wider, he's far more creative and he finds himself in way more space. In the old system with wing backs, and we might see this again when Reece James is back fit, he's playing in the two quite narrow, sort of two inside forwards, two number 10s behind the nine. And I think he struggles in that position, especially in the Premier League. Maybe at Ajax, he can kind of take to that because he knows the league and he's got a bit more time on the ball. But when he's out wide, he can turn inside on that left foot, pick a pass. He just looks really, really sharp. He scored in Chelsea's last 3 Premier League games and definitely someone that's gone a little bit under the radar for me. And when Chelsea return to Premier League action, after, of course, the Champions League and EFL Cup, he's certainly one. If he plays well in those 2 games and he looks like he's a nailed starter, I've got my eye on him. What do you think, Dean?
I am worried about when Reece James comes back, how he fits into this team, because I feel like someone asked me today on our podcast, like, why has Ziyech's run of form come about? Like, what is it? And it's like, well, one, he's getting a run of games. He's built confidence and form. But 2, he's probably also benefited from the space that Reece James isn't filling. And I saw The Athletic today described Ziyech's role at the weekend as like a quasi right wing back. And it was like, that's not a real position, number 1. But 2, I understand totally what they're saying there. And because he has got that freedom, because they played with that flat 4 and Christensen isn't going to use that space. So Ziyech was allowed to pretty much go into spots where he won't be allowed to go once Reece James is on the pitch. I do think it will change things for sure. But one thing I would say is that Ziyech is one of Chelsea's go-to guys right now. I see him similarly to how Riyad Mahrez was able to rise at Man City once he got that run. There was times when I wasn't sure Riyad Mahrez was going to make it at Man City. There's been 2 or 3 times, in fact, when I've thought Riyad Mahrez just isn't going to fit into what they want to do. And he always finds a way to alter his game, to prove people wrong. I think Ziyech can do the same thing. There's been talk in the last, 4 or 5 months about Ziyech even leaving Chelsea. He's determined not to let that happen. And I think that he's on the right path.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what happens with that formation with Reece back fit, because whilst I think Tuchel likes that back 5 and wing backs as his preferred system, there's no trust there for Alonso at left wing back. And if he wants to play Malang Sarr at left back, who has done very well in a back 4 on the left, then maybe he does play Reece James in a flat back 4. And then James, sure, he's still going to bomb forward because it's Reece James, but he won't be occupying quite the same spaces. And maybe that still gives Ziyech some space.
Yeah, totally. That's true.
Definitely one to monitor there. Next up, I've gone for another one I think I mentioned on last week's pod, but just one that's going from strength to strength, and that is Weghorst. Like, how many times do we see strikers come into the Premier League and take a little bit of time to get going? Well, this guy doesn't seem to need that time. He's just looked electric since day one, and he's, by pure chance, he's been thrown into having 2 double game weeks on the trot. So, of course, he becomes an FPL option straight away. And this week, his double game week's not so easy, but, he's already put, I think, 12, 13 points on the board. And then he's got Spurs midweek. But after that, in game week 27, it's Crystal Palace and Leicester. both teams have been conceding goals, especially Leicester, for fun. And he just looks like the sort of guy that can bully defenders. I mean, when we see big 6'6" forwards, we often don't expect them to, one, have a good touch, and two, be very mobile. Well, he seems to have both. Like, he's got some of the skills as like a Peter Crouch, but then some of the raw pace and power of like a Didier Drogba. Sure, his touch isn't as good as Crouch's, and his power is nowhere near that of Didier Drogba. But do you know what I mean? We were talking about big 6'6" strikers. We don't expect them to move like he does.
No, absolutely. Look, it's a really, really good pickup from Burnley. This Weghorst has scored more goals than Chris Wood season on season on season. This season, he will do the same thing. He'll from the end of Jan to the end of the season, Weghorst will score more goals than Chris Wood scores for Newcastle. So Burnley have been really smart here. They've recruited well. They found a guy that fits their system perfectly. His personality and character is a style that also suits Sean Dyche. He's absolutely made for Burnley if he was going to come into the Premier League. I really like him. I thought it might take him a little longer to get going, but now that he's up and running, mate, I think he's a great asset to have.
I'm really hoping this clip isn't like clipped and put on Twitter where I'm comparing Weghorst to Didier Drogba. I take it back, but you see where I'm coming from.
I see.
Great signing, and half the price of Chris Wood, by the way. Like, I think they paid 9-10 million for him. Like, great pickup.
It's like half the price, or maybe even less of what they got for Chris Wood. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, sensational transfer market there just from the one signing with Burnley. Next up, I've gone for Harry Kane, and this is another little bit short. It's a bit obvious. Like, he's obviously had a very good weekend, but we do need to pay attention because we look at that forward line in FPL and think it's slim pickings for the premium forwards. Like, you're not going Ronaldo, you're not going Lukaku, you're not going Vardy. But to cover that price point is useful should any of those players go on a run. And if you can create a kind of 10 million plus space in your team for Harry Kane, it's very then easy to transfer out for another one if you need to. But at the time, you don't look like you need to do that. Harry Kane is sharp. My big concern is when he plays against teams with a very low block, when he plays teams that are parking the bus, can Spurs break them down? But I think enough hours on the training field with Conte and now soon know how to play against those sort of opponents. And I just think Kane's going to have a very good end to the season. And you should start looking at how to bring him into your team, guys, because he's got a double coming up. He's got a nice run of green fixtures. And we know on his days is explosive as anyone. And if you have held that triple captainship and you don't want to go with Mo Salah because you've got space to make up in your mini league and perhaps you want a differential triple captain later in the season, outside of Salah, there's not too many people I would trust with it. And sure, I wouldn't trust Kane ordinarily this season, but now I think we might be getting back to that trust level we've been on in years gone by. What do you reckon, Dean?
Yes, true. And if Tottenham have got this ambition to finish in the top four, which they clearly do, then it's going to be very dependent on how many goals Harry Kane can score. He will want to be their go-to man at this point of the season. He's got a lot to do. He's won back the Spurs fans' faith after contemplating a transfer last summer. But for him now, it's got to be all about getting them top four. And like you say, his fixtures are really, really nice.
Yeah.
In that double game week that's coming up, I know one of them is Man United away, but Harry Kane can score at Old Trafford. There's no doubt about that. And then the other game's at Brighton. So there's certainly goals there for him towards the end of the season as well. Like, once you get a bit deeper, I think there's Liverpool in the middle of the run, but they've got like a run of 5 games where Kane could eat defenses up. It's a really interesting one. I honestly wasn't convinced that we were going to get that sort of display out of him. And look, it was a 10 out of 10 performance he gave at Man City. Yeah. Like, to play the dropping off role and the goal scoring role was brilliant. He was ruthless. It was proper Harry Kane. My one question would be, how many times could you deliver a 10 out of 10 performance? Like, that was him at his absolute best. You can't get to that level every week.
You definitely can't when you're playing 2-3 times a week, as Harry Kane has had to do for so long. And I just wonder, now they're not in Europe, if this is really going to benefit Kane. He's going to have a lot of midweeks off. Sure, he's going to have to play in some of those doubles, but I hope that extra rest means we get increased performances. We've got some good questions on it. And FPL Rivers asked if you could pick Kane or Son. I would go Kane, but Son's looked incredible as well. Who would you veer towards?
Well, I've just got rid of Kane. I'm not going back to him yet. I've got to go Son. I'm not going back to my begging bowl just yet.
I was asked in the week if Kulusevski's can cover Son's points, and my answer was can't cover Son, but he can still earn good points in his own right. Like, Kulusevski is a downgrade in terms of FPL, I believe, but he had a very good game. And on a free hit 2017, if you're looking to squeeze loads of premiums in and you perhaps need some enablers, well, Kulusevski's around 6 million. He allows you to enable more expensive players. He's an option.
Yeah, totally. Especially when we've seen his deliveries as well, and he's got an understanding of how this team functions. I think he's a good one. Yeah.
Luke said, as a Spurs fan, I've got the wrong Tottenham asset. Kane a better option than Son, back to his best now. Yeah, you might be right. I mean, one thing I would say is when one scores, the other often assists. So bear that in mind, because
I'd always just stick with, if you've got one of them, just stick with the one that you've got for now. Like the other one will always end up scoring.
Yeah. When I don't know how to split things in FPL, there's two things I go for. Like, one, are they on pens? If so, that splits it. And obviously that does it for Kane. But the other one, I look at bonus points and I just go, who performs better in the bonus out of these two assets? And I don't know the answer. It's probably very similar this season for Kane and Son. Son probably edges it. But that's usually my go-to. If you're not sure, look at those smaller metrics. Let's move on to our next section of the show. We've seen DJ's notebook. We've seen the eye test. Well, now it's time for, and guys, if you do like this section, like, check out the 10-second video clip we put together. If you like it, then do me a deal. You've got to like this video, right? If you like the video we're about to show you, you've got to like our YouTube vid. All right, so we're on 15 likes at the moment, so I'm expecting those likes to shoot up, surely. What a sequence. I love that. FPL Visa. So what are we doing here? Well, very simply, we are looking at forwards, midfielders, and defenders, and we're going for, okay, are they avoid? Are they sell? Are they buy? Are we approving them? Would be the right terminology to use, I guess, for visas. So let's have a look first at Jimenez. We'll start with forwards. What do you reckon with Jimenez, Dean? Would you buy, avoid, or sell?
Well, in terms of a visa, I think I would accept him for now because I look at the games that Wolves have got coming up, and I think that it could be his time to finally shine and finally go on a bit of a run. Got a double game week with Palace and Watford at home. Like, surely he's scoring those games, and then he's got Everton away on the back of that, and then Leeds at home. Like, I think that Jimenez is obviously taking his time to get back to the old Jimenez, but it's all there. And Wolves are a very good team who also have a lot of ambition this season and could potentially still make the top four. If that's going to happen, it's going to depend on Jimenez goals.
Yeah. FPL River, and do let us know in the chat if what you're thinking. FPL River says approve, and it's a tough one for me because I always say with Wolves, look at the defence first. They don't score enough goals, but if they are going to score, I think Jimenez will be involved, and they do have some nice fixtures. And more importantly, as I keep saying, they've got the doubles and they play in blank game week 30 where there's only like 3 or 4 fixtures.
Yeah.
FPL Focus, Jimenez looks good and Neto can feed him. Yeah, we haven't spoken about Neto and the influence that will have. When he's back fit, Wolves will look more dynamic for sure.
Totally.
What about Ollie Watkins? This is a tougher one, Dean.
Do you know what? Earlier in the season, I would have let him through, but I'm going to have to reject him for now. I just think there are better people out there to be giving you consistent points. I think that Aston Villa are very hard to judge. I think that they'll have some great results, and I think they'll have some really disappointing results. That's going to be the early pattern under Steven Gerrard, while he decides what the makeup of this squad is and who he wants to stick around and who he wants to move on. So I think Ollie Watkins will feel the effect of that. And I think he'll be very difficult to predict how he's going to score week to week.
Yeah, he's got 5 Premier League goals this season. He's not scored since game week 17 for me. I've just got to reject him. I'm really disappointed with Ollie Watkins, and he even lost his starting space at the weekend. I think Danny Ings was given a run out, and that's an interesting one to monitor for sure. Last forward, one that's been sold en masse in recent weeks, and that's Emmanuel Dennis.
I mean, it's a brave decision. I understand why people sell Dennis, and it's hugely tempting to do so at times when Watford struggle. But as I said earlier, they will go through good runs, and if they're good, Watford are going to score, the chances are it's Sarr assisting Dennis or the other way round. What am I going to do there? I'm going to accept him. I accept him.
Yeah, and I think the Sarr influence could be massive. I'm gonna say delay. I delay in perhaps for the next couple of games, see if we think Watford have got more than a goal in them a game, best case scenario. Definitely one to monitor, Dennis. I'm gutted I sold him, actually. I think he's probably the second best budget forward in the game after Broja.
Yeah.
Let's move on to midfielders now. Dennis,
That's my head in.
I feel your pain. I mean, we all had him.
It is a bit like that. It does feel like that, doesn't it? It's one of those. Whenever you do pick him, he doesn't score, and you're like, right, I give up on him, and he scores like 3 weeks in a row. You're like, oh, cool.
Yeah, given the choice, as FPL Focus says, Dennis beats Watkins. Luke says, I haven't sold King. If I had Dennis, you'd keep him, yeah, for sure. And Mahmood, game week 27, Sterling and Brozier or Kulusevski and Sancho? That's a really tough one. I mean,
I'm going to say
I'd
City got Everton.
I'd be tempted. I think mine would be Sterling and Brozier, and that's but I'd definitely cover that Spurs attack.
Yeah. And look, Brozier's due a goal. Get on Brozier.
I mean, he's got Norwich. If he's ever going to score, surely it's against Norwich.
I hope so.
Should we move on to our midfielders? So we'll stick with the Man City theme. We've just spoken about Sterling. Well, the other one that's been performing very well with FPL has been Mahrez, and he's just come off the back of I don't know if we can call it a rest. I guess it is.
Yeah, I think you've got to accept him, haven't you? There's not that many Man City players I'd be willing to have in my lineup at the moment. 3, maybe 4 that I would consider. Mahrez is one of those 4. So yeah, I'd say accept.
Yeah, for me, accept, especially if you're on a free hit, guys. There's a very good chance I think Mahrez starts. And of course, you get with Mahrez the extra penalty appeal, as we saw against Spurs. And his penalty record's very good compared to Sterling's, which is absolutely rubbish. I think Sterling he scored a perfect hat-trick the other week. And it was, Sterling's got a perfect hat-trick. Well, one of those goals was, off the back of a missed penalty, but he tapped it in with his left foot. So it was a perfect hat-trick. I think he's missed 4 in his last 6 for City, which is shocking. How he's still allowed to take them, I don't know.
Like Messi.
Yeah. We'll move on to a Burnley asset. And I think he got his first goal at the weekend for Burnley, certainly this season, and that's Josh Brownhill.
Yeah, sorry, Josh. Big moment in your season, but I'm sending you away. You're rejected. Weghorst or maybe Tarkowski or Pope are the only guys I'm considering, I think. Oh, maybe me, I guess. You got me, haven't you?
Yeah, me, Tarkowski, once he's back from COVID, and then Weghorst are the ones.
Yeah.
Maybe Cornet if you want a differential, but he seems to always take a knock, doesn't he?
Yeah. No, I don't think Brownhill's the one.
Yeah, not for me either. I am going to disagree with you at some point, Dean, but so far I think I've
we haven't had any arguments yet.
Mohammed's gone. That was cold, Dean. That was very cold. Indeed.
It was a bit. You got to be ruthless, Mohammed, when you're in the visa.
Gundogan is unbelievable. Every time he starts, he seems to score. Yeah, he does. The key thing there is every time he starts, and that's a toss of a coin, isn't it? It's sort of 50% of the time, best case scenario. You just can't go there for FPL.
No, absolutely. Too risky. I mean, we did suspect he might play, but we couldn't figure out where it was going to be, couldn't we?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. Bruno was the false 9 and Foden was right, Sterling was left, and then KDB went into the 9 channel at times, as did Gundogan.
Yeah.
It's just how City roll, isn't it?
Mm.
Next up, we'll go Bruno. I think we might have a slight difference in opinion here. Let's have a look. Who are you going for?
Oh, man, I don't know about Bruno anymore. I mean, they've got Watford at home as their next game. That's what's going to, if I was looking on a free hit right now, I guess I would half consider that. But I'd look beyond that at City and Tottenham. I would delay till later in the season, I think. Yeah, they've got too hard a run after this Watford game. I'm not sure about Bruno anymore.
Oh, damn, same. Oh, same. I think the Watford is nice for those on a free hit. I definitely wouldn't be transferring Bruno in with that fixture run. I do like the positions he's taken up though, Dean. Like I tweeted it where he just has this ability late in games when the game is won to really exploit tired defenses. Yeah. He's just got the amount of goals Bruno gets in games late or assists late in games when United are playing on the counter. They're up against it and they can just put Bruno into space and he's just so clinical. So I like him on the free hit, but that is it.
Yeah, exactly. That's just that run of games after Watford that would put me off for him scoring enough points to be worthwhile.
I think we've had enough comments for that one section. We'll move on to our defenders. And we'll start with a Burnley centre-back. And again, we just love Sean Dyche centre-backs, don't we? There's certain managers that manage in the Premier League where you go, yeah, I like the centre-backs because I know we'll keep clean sheets. Sam Allardyce is one. Sean Dyche is another. Years gone by, Roy Hodgson's been another. But Ben Mee always looks like 6 points can very easily happen.
Really does, yeah. And you've got a run of games coming up whereby I fancy Burnley to transfer these games in hand and chances into big points. I think he's definitely worth accepting. I don't know. something about Burnley that I'm just not convinced that they're going down. I've just always had this hunch that the margins by which they've lost games are so small, and they've drawn so many, and it's not going to take a lot for this to turn around, and it's going to be built on being stern at the back and nicking a goal through Weghorst, and they will keep clean sheets. They really will, and I think he's a great asset.
Yeah, for me too. He's. I'm very pleased I transferred him in last game week, so an easy one for me. Next up, we've got Livramento, and he's obviously back to full fitness. And Luke says, yeah, about Ben being a bonus points magnet. I don't think he gets too many, but he doesn't need to. Livramento is one that's now back fit, and the fullbacks are just sky high at Southampton. You've got Walker Peters, who's currently playing at left back, Livramento at right back. They're encouraged to get forward, and because of that, they get attacking returns, and they put so many crosses in. They performed so well in the bonus point system as well. Successful crosses in the BPS gives you a little boost. And Livramento got 3 bonus and a 12-point haul at the weekend.
Yeah, there's so much green coming up with him as well. Like in terms of the fixtures that they're facing, they got some really good games coming up for Southampton. Livramento is a star. I think Chelsea will regret the day that they let him slip through. Another one that they could have had. They could really do with a rotator as well, couldn't they, in recent times to have in there as an option. Livramento, would I accept him right now? Yeah, I think I would. Norwich home, Villa, Newcastle. Yeah, he gets accepted.
Yeah, me too. He's back fit. He's definitely my Southampton defender of choice. I have been really impressed with Walker Peters as well, though. He's really surprised me. Last and not least, we have got Cresswell. Now, in years gone by, we've loved Cresswell. He gets assists for fun. And I think he did get the assist for the Dawson header not too long ago, but he hasn't looked quite as attacking as he has in years gone by.
No, I mean, I'm going to let you take the lead more here in a second, but I just don't like Cresswell at the moment. I mean, I'll let you decide first on what status you give him, mate, because you've had to copy me for the last
Thank
8.
You. Can I say a firm reject? I actually think West Ham with European football coming up as well. I think I'm not expecting too many clean sheets, especially with Ogbonna out. I think they've really missed him.
I think they've got a really tough time, West Ham, coming up. I mean, it's make or break for them in the next few weeks over whether they can genuinely compete for that top 4. And, you know, there are a couple of players I would obviously consider. At the moment, Cresswell's not one of them.
Yeah. You look at West Ham and it's kind of it's Bowen or slim pickings.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mahmoud's gone me or Roberts. I would. Do you know what? Now we've had the extra game to know that Roberts is absolutely nailed, and he played so well. He got the assist. I think he hit the bar.
Yeah.
I think I'd go Roberts for the bonus potential and the attacking threat. And I spoke to my boss of my day job is a Swansea fan, and today he was telling me all about Roberts because I said I've been monitoring, and I'd seen he had got Swansea Player of the Year. And he said he's not great defensively, but he's very good going forward, which isn't what you expect from a Sean Dyche fullback. But no. I think he's going to be encouraged to get the ball in for Weghorst. So, yeah, Roberts for me.
Nice combo.
Yeah. FPL Focus. Once Sean Dyche rolls up those sleeves.
Not scared of anything. FPL Rivers got rid of Livramento. Yeah. Look, we all make bad decisions. Me make more than most, but you'll get over it, River. You'll get over it.
Best United defender for the next game week. Off the back of Dalot being rested and seeing how Wan-Bissaka played, I think Dalot comes straight back into that team.
Yeah, I don't see a big future for Wan-Bissaka at Man United. I mean, Luke Shaw, maybe. Well, they got Watford at home, maybe.
Dean, where does Wan-Bissaka end up? Because I couldn't believe United paid 50 million for him. I used to work at Crystal Palace, and I used to watch training quite often. I had nothing to do with the football team when I worked there, unfortunately. I'd watch Wan-Bissaka kicking a ball and go, "You're technically not as good as everyone else on the pitch. You're a championship player, technically." Now, he's a brilliant one-on-one defender, don't get me wrong. And yeah, sure, his position's sometimes off and he relies on his pace, but I don't know where his level's at. It's certainly not at the top end of the Premier League for me.
No, I know Man United having got big reservations about it at the moment, and there's a high chance that he's transferred in the summer, but they've got to get some of that money back. Yeah. So it's going to be tough to find a home. I mean, there's always the option of Everton or a club like that like to invest big money in names that are of a high profile. I would say Newcastle, but they already got Kieran Trippier. You know, it's going to be a club of that level.
I love how our default is just we need to recoup some money. Maybe Newcastle will be interested.
They'll have a look.
Great question about the free hit, and I think around 50% of FPL managers that are really engaged managers are on a free hit this week with no Arsenal, no Liverpool, no Chelsea. Says, would we consider a double City defence? They play Everton.
Do you know what? I think Everton score is the problem. I really do. I said to you the other day, like I wouldn't actually consider Everton assets. I'd have them on the bench for away games, and I'd have Everton players in for home games. I think that's literally how Lampard's going to see out this season, and that's how it'll pan out. So I do see Everton scoring. Maybe if you're looking at fullbacks, I guess then they could pick up some points.
If you want to go double defence on anyone, my big tip is Burnley. Like they of course play twice, so you've got the double chance. But Palace and Leicester, I think they keep one clean sheet in that.
Absolutely.
I think we've got our last question. Last question is from Desire, and thank you guys for being so engaged in the chat. What's your thought on James Ward-Prowse? He's obviously on set pieces. Southampton are flying, plays Norwich next, and has a double coming up.
Yeah, he's got a lovely run of games, Ward-Prowse, and he does like to go through spells as well, where he picks up a lot of points. Yeah, if you can get him in, absolutely.
And the final one from Luke: when is the best time to wildcard? The $1 million question. Have you used your second wildcard, Dean?
Yeah, I think I have, mate. Yeah, I'll double check
too.
it, but I'm pretty sure. I wish I don't think I'd feel like this if I hadn't. Yeah, I've played it. Yeah, it's gone.
There's two schools of thought, which is you dead end your team to game week 30, where we're going to get probably 3, maybe 4, or maximum, I think, 5 fixtures because it's the FA Cup weekend. So you could dead end your team there, bring in loads that you know are playing, but perhaps you don't want long term, and then you wildcard out the back of that. Or you wildcard in game week 35, knowing there's going to be a massive double game week in 36, where perhaps so you can line up all your doublers. Remember, when you wildcard, you can't engage another chip, so you can't wildcard and bench boost, for example. Many are bench boosting in that 36.
Absolutely, yeah, mate. Anyway, I'm turning all my eyes now to Mo Salah and Martinelli because I want those guys to deliver for me. I need Mo Salah to make this triple captaincy worthwhile, and Martinelli's got some making up to do. So look, there's still games left in this game week, and let's see. Well, you're already a happy man. I'm not yet, but I might be.
I cannot wait for Wednesday's fixtures, and of course we've got a game on Thursday. But more importantly, guys, we're going to be back on Friday at 7 p.m. So make sure you subscribe and set those notifications. 7 p.m. Friday, we'll be previewing the game week that's coming up. And of course, we have got a Friday night deadline this week as well. Thank you guys for watching. I've been Gianni. He's been Dean. This has been Chasing Green Arrows.